Hello everyone! Today we're going to be creating mandalas, or mandala, or mandala. We're going to be creating just 1/4 or a quarter of the design, and then we're going to use this puzzle piece to translate it to our final paper. So what you should do with your puzzle piece is I would fold it in half along the long edge, just to put a crease in it. And we want to shoot for making a symmetrical design. So this is going to be our center point. And so you want to have some designs that are kind of centered around here. And then your design could grow from that point. And you can embellish it by adding different lines and different details. You can add things that go off the side. I could even kind of want to see where that line was. I'm going to transfer it. There we go. And then, just continue working on creating your design. I'm going to add a little bit more detail to mine. Okay, so I finished working on my quarter piece, and for the most part it is a symmetrical design, so it's the same on both sides. There's a little bit of irregularities, but it is mostly symmetrical. Then you're going to want to get your big sheet of paper, write your name and your class code, and to begin with, you're going to line up the long edge with the long edge, and you're going to tape it in place. So you want to try to make sure the corners are matching. And I would even kind of stick the tape on your clothing or on your skin a little bit so it's not quite as sticky. And then you can tape right on the edges. So the paper is on the paper. You could tape on this edge as well. And then you're going to push really hard with your pencil, scrubbing to transfer and make the design jump onto the bottom paper. So it takes a little bit of time and a little bit of muscle, and you're going to try to stay on the triangle and not color off of it. So if you see, it's pushing the design down. So I'll pause the video and finish this step. Okay, so I've gone over the whole design. I even went over the edges that were taped, and all along the way I was kind of peeking to make sure that I design translated. I'm going to carefully, so I don't rip my paper, carefully pull up my tape. Okay, you can see the design transferred nicely. Now, 1/4 of the design has transferred. We need to transfer the other 3/4 of our design. So what you're going to do is you're going to carefully pull off the tape, and those edges need to be colored in pencil. And we want to be careful not to rip this. I notice sometimes when we're coloring over with the pencil, it tends to rip. So just be careful. Do remember that it is paper. Now, and this is part of the reason why we wanted it to be symmetrical, we're going to turn our design over this way, lining up the edges. We're going to tape it down once again. Okay, making sure you kind of get some of the stickiness off that tape. And tape it down. And for the other 3/4 of your design, you are now going to just trace the design, and the graphite on the back then will help you transfer the image. So I'll do one part real quick so you can see. If I'm pushing firmly over the design, you'll probably go through a few pencils during this project. You'll need a sharpener close by. the design will transfer. Okay, so I'm gonna keep working on this. Ooh. And I will show you when I have a little bit more done. A couple other tips I wanted to show you. If you notice that your design is not matching up perfectly, you can kind of change it so that it works. So this part right here, you can see the scallop design ends here, but the next scallop doesn't start here. So what I could do is start and then slowly get back on track. The other thing I want to show you is I also switched out my regular pencil for a colored pencil, because when you've traced it more than once, it's hard to tell where you've gone. And so if you use a colored pencil, you can kind of see your design a little more clearly, and it is still pushing the design through with the graphite pencil on the back. So using color on here doesn't change the color on the bottom. So hopefully those tips are helpful for you. I'm going to continue tracing my design. Last tip I have for transferring. You notice each puzzle piece I did slowly is going to get lighter and lighter, and that's because we're kind of lifting off some of the graphite that was on the back. So if you notice that, you can go back over and re-darken the back side of your puzzle piece, especially over where you can see the design, and that will help keep the transferring nice and dark. I'm doing my last piece right now, and I'm also switching colored pencil colors one last time, and then I will be done. You might notice that this is a little bit of dirty work. My hand is kind of causing some smudges. My fingers have gotten some smudges. And so just know that any smudges you're accidentally getting on your art, you can always clean those up at the end when we do our final trace and erase. So I'm going to continue completing my design, and I'll show you it at the finish point. Okay, now that I've finished transferring the design 4 times, I get to do some tracing. And so with the Sharpie, any edges that are kind of rough or where the design didn't quite connect correctly, you can make those adjustments with the Sharpie. And then take a big pink eraser and just rub all over carefully to grab up any of those smudges or areas where the design didn't transfer well. You also can add designs in. So while I'm working, maybe I'm deciding that I want to create a little bit more detail in the center design, and I can do this step during the tracing. Okay, so carefully continue tracing your total design.